Hi, I'm Amy Leisha, and here's how I knew I was pregnant a week early. I found out 9 days post-ovulation, which is 3 weeks into my cycle, so a whole week before I was supposed to get my period.
Can this be what I think it is? I have a really faint line. I'll show you here so you can see as well, but there's very clearly another line there. Seems so surreal.
I did not anticipate finding out this early, but there were 5 things that led me to the conclusion that I was pregnant. Starting with number 1, I have been tracking my cycle for the last 3 to 4 years. I really got to know signs and symptoms that were normal for my body, so I had a greater understanding of when there were changes and what the cause of those changes may be. I was tracking my basal body temperature with a specific thermometer. Any symptom that shifted or fluctuated that I wouldn't have 24/7, I would note down, as well as I would track my mucus, so the different quality of mucus that I would have, my luteinizing hormone with ovulation strips to really get a good understanding of ovulation. Having this understanding over 3 years really has given me such an in-depth understanding of how my body works, what causes changes to occur, what symptoms are normal, what aren't normal. PMS symptoms pretty well are very similar to pregnancy symptoms, basically because they're caused by the same hormones. Being able to understand my cycle really helped me hone in on what was going on with my body and hormonal fluctuations. Moving on to number 2. The next thing that I noticed was actually an absence of symptoms. I'm talking about the 2-week wait period after ovulation, after conception would have occurred, while you're waiting to find out the results whether you're pregnant or not. In that 2-week period is usually where you get PMS symptoms and you're waiting for your period to come around to restart your cycle all over again. That 2-week wait can feel like 100 years. So the absence of symptoms in this second part of the cycle was quite unusual, because in the previous 3 cycles, I had quite a lot of breast tenderness for the entire 2 weeks until my period would come. I did get breast tenderness the day of ovulation, which was really unusual. It lasted that 1 day and then it disappeared, and my suspicion as to why imbalanced estrogen, progesterone and luteinizing hormone to cause the symptom of greater breast tenderness on that day only. Hormones must have leveled out, because there were no symptoms for that entire week until I found out that I was pregnant. I had alarm bells going off in my head going, maybe this could be the month, because this is so weird. Moving on to number 3. The consistency of my cervical mucus changed. So in the second 2 weeks, I'd kind of sometimes get a little bit of a creamier mucus, most often none at all. Days 4, 6 and 8 post-ovulation, the consistency of the mucus was quite creamy, and it was just a slightest tinge of a different color, to the point where I knew that that was odd. I had never experienced that in my entire cycle life. So this was ultra sus. My first thought was, I wonder if I'm pregnant. But at the same time, I was pretty quick to try and shut that down, because I didn't want to experience the disappointment of not being pregnant, which I had the month prior. Moving on to number 4. I had a really vivid dream. This dream was unnaturally real. The day before, in my discouragement, I prayed to God, please just tell me whether I'm pregnant or not, because this emotionally is really taxing. Day 6 post-ovulation is when I had this vivid dream. I dreamt that I was pregnant. I found out 9 days post-ovulation, which is really early. It was really exciting, and then I flashed forward into, I just basically had this baby given birth, and I was showing this child to our family and friends, and it was so real. It was crazy. Then I woke up and thought, wow, that dream was a little bit strange. It didn't immediately make me think that I was pregnant, because it is just a dream. It was really strange at how real the dream was. Moving on to number 5. I had a spike in both estrogen and progesterone. Throughout this whole period, I was tracking my hormones with the Mirror fertility device. Pretty much, you pee on a stick, then you put that stick into a device. It will read the levels of your hormones in your first morning urine, and will spit out a hormonal level, so you can track it over your cycle. The reason I decided to start doing this is because I am a data nerd, and I love to track things. Because I'm traditionally quite fit and active and have low body fat, high muscle mass, when you undereat and you over-exercise, you can actually mess with your hormone levels. I was slightly concerned that my hormonal levels were sitting a little bit low. Potentially, if that's the case for me, it may affect my ability to fall pregnant. So I wanted to track my hormones to work out if they were actually in fact low. Now, more data can be really helpful. At the same time, it can be quite discouraging. My progesterone levels were sitting lower than the healthy average norm for a female in their second half of their cycle. Progesterone is really important for the endometrial lining and to create a really nice home in your uterus for an embryo to survive. Looking at the graph, I had a really good spike of luteinizing hormone and estrogen at ovulation ovulation, and then progesterone did actually rise. So in terms of the way the graph looked throughout my cycle, my hormones were doing what they needed to do at the right times, but the mistake that I made was looking at healthy, normal levels based on the data that they had collected. That then made me think that maybe I don't have enough to be able to carry a healthy pregnancy. What was super interesting though, on day 9 post-ovulation, I had a spike in both estrogen and progesterone, pretty much doubled. I couldn't quite justify a reason why this was to occur, so I decided to take a pregnancy test just for fun, knowing that 9 days post-ovulation is probably way too early.
I don't know, there's definitely a line. I feel like I definitely see a line.
The month previous, I had taken pregnancy tests to get negatives and there was not even a glimpse of a line. The test was appearing positive. I was in disbelief, yet I had so much excitement. I came out, I showed my husband, I was like, look, can you see a line there? He's like, I don't know how to read one of these tests. I said, if there's any appearance of a line, it means that I'm pregnant. I then peed on 2 more sticks to test just to make sure they weren't evap lines. Both other 2 tests that I took had that same line. One of them was slightly darker. As much as my husband wasn't so sure, I knew I was pregnant. This is when I remembered the dream that I had day 6 post-ovulation. What I dreamt in the dream was happening in real life. It was like this weird deja vu scenario. I thanked God for the dream because it was way too coincidental for it to be a coincidence. But alas, unbelievably exciting. In the midst of a really faint line on day 9, I then proceeded to retest day 10, 11, and 12, and so on because of the just disbelief that I had. Every day, the line got darker and darker and darker and darker.
I have a positive. It is a very clear positive pregnancy test. This is crazy.
When my period didn't come, it was like the next layer of excitement of, oh my goodness, I've never not had a period pretty much on time before. This is really strange. My sweet little baby bump. I'm currently 19 weeks along and everything is going well. This baby is healthy. And lastly, what were the takeaways that I got from this whole experience? I tried to take each symptom and change with a grain of salt because hormones do interesting things, especially when stress is involved and certain lifestyle changes happen. And if you haven't been tracking and you're not diligently focused on what's going on with your body, it is possibly just hormonal fluctuations. It may not actually mean pregnancy or no pregnancy. So I tried really hard to avoid symptom spotting, trying to find symptoms that would make me think I was pregnant, even though I am abnormally in tune with my body. It did help me understand that this time it was quite different. Each time a new symptom popped up, I really assessed it to go, is there any other possible reason why this may have occurred outside of pregnancy? That just helped me emotionally cope with the whole process, trying to look at it quite analytically rather than emotionally, because it is such an emotional process. Having tracked my cycle for so long and then paying attention to any changes from the last 3 cycles, it helped me avoid symptom spotting and understand what was actually going on for my body and what was different. I do think there is something to intuition. I know there's a lot of people out there who have fallen pregnant who just felt pregnant. I didn't feel pregnant. I think because I am very scientific, look at the data kind of a person, and didn't want to jump to conclusions. However, there was just something different about this month, a slight feeling that I hadn't had ever before. Because I tracked so diligently, I was very strategic about when my husband and I tried all of the different measures we put in place and timing to ovulation when we did try to conceive. Plus, I had been working on optimizing my health and fertility for the last 3 years with a whole bunch of health issues that I had. I was using the cycle tracking to really optimize my overall health. So I really did feel like I had quite a good chance of falling pregnant quite quickly based on everything that I'd learned about my body, about my cycles, and about fertility. I'm so grateful it was fast for me, but I know that's not the case for everyone. I hope you got something out of it. I hope it helps you on your trying to conceive journey. Good luck, all the best. And if you like this video and you want to learn more about cycle tracking, fertility, and women's health, check out this video right here where I talk about the best book that I've ever read on women's health. It catapulted me into this whole cycle tracking journey and optimizing my health and fertility. I honestly don't know what the outcome would have been for me right now if I hadn't stumbled across all this information. Go check that out and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.